welcome to the peachiest podcast around. Pshhh, everyone has crafting and chatting here, you know? And yes, we are committed to the title. My name is Crash of rapidpeach everywhere online.
And I am Kersey of @MateByKersey.
All right. How was your week, love?
It was okay. I got sick over the weekend, so that was kind of gnarly. Yeah.
Are you feeling better?
I'm feeling a little bit better, yeah. The stomachs are just, not made like they used to be made. Turning 35, you're not allowed to be in your 20s anymore. It's the rule.
Well, you're definitely not in your 20s, just like logistically.
Yeah, no, 32, you're still kind of in your 20s. 35, you're officially almost 40.
Are you starting to feel it then?
I think I did. I think that,
Yeah,
I think that was what happened. Yeah.
Oh, no.
I had 4 glasses of wine. 2 of them were Prosecco. And the next 2 days, my stomach was like, I just don't like you anymore, and we're not going to be friends. I was like, that's fine. Lesson learned. So, it's all good. It's all good. How about you? How about your week?
Okay. I'm glad you're feeling better at least.
Thanks, man.
My week was good. I babysat one of my cat's friends. No, other way around. I babysat one of my friend's cats.
Hilarious.
I babysat one of my friend's cats, which was super fun. She's a sweetie pie, so it was nice. She definitely warmed up over the 3 days. So by the end of it, she was like, oh, "You're here," and I'm like, "Yep, I'm your new mommy."
Yeah.
So that went really well. And then literally right as we were about to push record, right before you called, I got the absolute funniest comment on an old YouTube video of mine that I feel like I need to tell you about.
Please.
Yes. So it was a video about so you're bi and married. That doesn't mean you're gonna cheat or anything, because that's what a lot of people assume about bi people,
Or you're just in this poly relationship, open relationship. Right.
Yeah. So that's what the video is about. And I got a comment 3 years ago or so from someone that was like, "Hi, I'm 38 and bi, and my husband is 42. We're best friends. We've been dating for 8 years. We just got married. He's my forever. Everything's gonna be perfect between us. Signed, Charlene M." Okay. And then right after that, there was I just got a new comment on that comment as a reply that was "There was no forever. She was definitely more attracted to women and men. They are not together anymore. Still friends though." Signed Roberta M or something, or Michael M, I forget.
What?
But I was like, oh my God, I didn't think my comment section would have lore to it.
That is... It's so funny that they would have to go back to the video to follow up.
I'm sure it's not actually related, because why in the world would you go and do that?
But I like
love
the idea. I love the idea.
I'm gonna tell myself it was real just because it's so funny.
Yeah. Oh, I love that.
I know,
I want it to be real.
Me too. Not that I want to have seen an end of a marriage, but I definitely want this to be a true story.
Oh, yeah.
Who knows? Maybe it is.
Give me 1 second. I gotta...
Anyway, so that had me chortling right before you called, and I was like, great timing. Don't tell Kersey until we click record.
Easy.
Luckily, we clicked record fast. Yeah. I think you have it this week. Are you excited? I'm very interested to see what you have to say, because I am not a concert goer. So
well, I know that last week we talked about me talking about concerts and doing a little bit more talk about infrastructure of festivals and stuff like that.
Do you have a new idea?
Well, after being sick all weekend from drinking, I thought about talking about the stages of grief and the stages of grief that aren't written in there.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I can do that a lot better than I can talk about concerts.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, what are, off the top of your head, list as many of the stages of grief as you can.
Oh gosh. I didn't come prepared for this.
I know.
Bargaining. There's one that's like disbelief or something, but I forget what it's called.
Denial.
Anger. Yeah, denial. There we go. Something and then acceptance.
Yeah. The only one that you missed out was depression. But it's funny, I didn't even know about the bargaining one. I'm surprised that was the first one that you said.
That's how I deal with most of the bad things that happen in my life.
Yeah, I mean, the stages of grief I found out, like, just in my research, is that they're pretty controversial and they should not be followed. Because grief is so personal, and it's also very cultural and different for every single person who experiences it.
Fair enough.
Yeah. That being said, I want to talk about the stages of grief that were not in this list. And I should just start off by saying kind of the story, and without giving too many details on it, because just, you know, privacy and stuff like that. But I recently lost somebody who was close to me, and it was abrupt, it was very, very sudden, unexpected, and every day since finding out has been like a movie. It's the weirdest sensation that I've ever gone through, because it was the first one. Because I don't think that, I mean, one thing that we should say is that we have been actually planning this podcast for a while, and the day before we were supposed to record, I called you, and I let you know what happened.
Yep, it was definitely a big shock for you, for sure.
Yeah.
And understandably so.
Yeah, and you handled that call so well.
No,
Yeah.
not even. What else was I going to say?
Well, it's funny is that, like, I think that what I really admired about people is when I told them, nobody said it's going to be okay, which I think is so important not to say.
For sure. Well, because also in this case, it's like, it's not.
It's not okay. It's not okay.
It's not, and it's not going to get, like, the grief will get better, and it won't hurt as much maybe, or it won't hurt like as strongly when it does hurt, but it's not, they're not going to come back, you know.
Yeah,
which is probably for the better in this case, because then you have a very bleak zombie movie or something. You know, to keep it light.
Well, that's another stage of grief, is the random stuff that's funny. I was walking with my friend who had also experienced a loss that was sudden. She was very young when it happened. It was extremely traumatic. And I said, yeah, man, I think in the stages of grief, I've just hit acceptance right away and was just like, I'm not going to get over this. And she said, oh, you don't. And we both started laughing, like, because it is like, there is something that will be like drop of a pin, unexpected, funny, that will happen.
Right.
Another really, I mean, it's not, I guess it's not funny unless you're speaking in the context of what it's about, but like, soon after I found out about my friend, I had also lost my job. And it was my birthday and my fish died.
Oh no, you didn't tell me your fish also died.
Yeah, the fish died.
No,
and at the
you
time,
were so excited about your fish.
It was kind of funny. Like, I went out to my, I met some friends on the bayou, and we were just kind of like circled around, and I told them my fish died, and they were like, they knew about what happened to my friend, they knew about my job, and I could see, like, we were all trying not to laugh, and because we were trying not to laugh, it made it even funnier.
Right.
So that's a stage of grief that won't. Oh man, and there was another one.
If you tell me you got a second fish and it died immediately too, I'm not going to be able to handle it.
No, yeah. My friend called me, and I thought she had found out by some other channel. Mm-hmm. And she was just talking to me about her day, and she was talking to me about her job, and at one point she was like, oh, I know this is kind of useless, but have you heard about the Try Guys? And I was like, yeah, man, I heard about the Try Guys, and we talked about that a little bit.
So she just had no
and then
idea.
she just was like, so how are you? Like, you're kind of going through kind of a shock right now. And I was like, well, yeah. And then I kind of said, how sad I was. And she was like, well, yeah, you just lost your job. And I was just like, well, yeah, but did you also hear about... And she was like, what? No!
Oh, no.
And then she just went through the shock, and I could hear her trying to find words. And then at one point she just goes, why the fuck were you letting me talk about the Try Guys? And I was like, I thought you knew, and that you were just like, this was your weird way of processing.
Oh, no. She's like, I feel like an asshole.
Don't ever let me do that again. I was like, I will not. I am so sorry. I'm sorry.
Hey, to be fair, the Try Guys things also hit you really, really strong. I was kind of surprised.
I was just fascinated by it.
Yeah.
Not in a mourning way, more in like a...
I always knew he was a jerk, kind of.
Well, yeah, that and how, like, these kids did not know how famous they were. But we can talk about that on another podcast.
Definitely.
Going back into, like, the stages of grief that aren't written is... Well, I guess I'll start with something that my friend advised me. Is like, as soon as I found out, she said, go for a walk, call a friend. And I wasn't planning on calling anybody. I was planning on just writing this thing out alone. And I'm really, really glad that I took her advice. That's definitely
not the right move.
No. It's really, you should not be alone.
No,
in those
it's like
times.
It's when it feels the worst that you're like, you need to talk to somebody, you just don't want to. Like, that's when you really, really need to.
And I did. I called a friend. She came to she drove all the way to the bayou, and then she picked me up and took me back to my house. And she laid down, like, the best ground rules of what to do in the first week, which is, 1, don't drive anywhere. If you need a ride, get somebody else. You're so incredibly fragile, you don't know when you're going to break down at any moment, and you don't want to be behind the wheel of your car. 2,
that's a good point.
Avoid public places as much as possible, particularly grocery stores. And this is just a personal thing for me. Grocery stores are just like, most of them now are like nightmare color fests, where it's just like weird ass colors going at you all the time, and people don't
like
really
overstimulation.
People don't really know how much color noise makes. And when you're in a tough spot and you're like looking at like all the happy faces on cereal boxes and you're not really feeling that, like it's a little much. It's actually a very little. No, it's actually very much. It's very, very much.
Too much.
Another thing she said was that she didn't call it a loss. She said, you've been robbed. Which I think that words are really, really important. And putting it in those words didn't necessarily make me accept the situation anymore, but it did make it feel like I could understand it a little bit more.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, especially because it was untimely.
Very untimely.
It was completely accidental, you know? It wasn't something anyone could have predicted or anything like that. I think that phrasing it as being robbed is definitely more than as a loss. Like, it makes a lot more sense, I think. And especially because, like, I don't know how much you want to disclose, but, like, you'd also just received a letter from the friend.
Yeah.
And that's, like, it all just kind of happened all at once when you were totally not expecting that. And I think that hit you very hard, too.
Yeah. I mean, that kind of, I alluded to this earlier in the podcast, but there is a stage of grief where you feel like you're watching yourself outside of the movie. And I remember the day so well, as I was coming back from getting my car worked on. I'd just gotten off the phone with Laura, our friend, and I got a letter in the mail, and it was from my friend.
Right.
And I walked upstairs, read the letter, and then I see my phone, and I got a text message from a mutual friend of my friend who passed, and she called with the news. And that's just like it's such a story, man.
It is.
It's like,
it definitely feels more like a movie than real life in that case. Like,
yeah,
just the timing of it.
You feel like you're watching yourself watch yourself.
Yeah.
You know? And it was, I get kind of like, I get really, really speechless after talking about it. And it's hard because I mean, I guess I can go back and just go into the next stage of grief, is that when I found out, everything became physically warped, Crash. It was the weirdest sensation. This was right before I called you. I'm on the phone, and my friend is telling me the information about the friend who I just got this letter from, and it felt like everything was becoming wider. Like, the room was becoming wider, the furniture was becoming wider. It felt like a thumb was kind of pushing me down lightly and making me a little bit
kind
wider.
of like a panic.
It was more like, I guess so. I guess it would be considered a panic, but I wouldn't give it that word. You know, I think that it was just so... I've never received information and had like such like, I can feel my interior kind of changing, but never the exterior.
It's like a physical response.
Yeah. Like, I mean, like, the physical response I've always kind of noticed just within myself. This was changing physics around everything. The universe was changing.
You had a giant life change, right?
Yeah.
It's not something that is interior to you. So it's not like you just felt yourself change. Like, it is a physical change to your universe, right? Your friend not being here anymore. That is a life-changing, world-altering thing for you.
Yeah.
So, of course, that makes a lot of sense that you would feel that way. It's kind of like, I don't think it sounds weird or anything like that you would suddenly feel like the world widening or expanding or whatever. It's just like, oh my God, everything changed all of a sudden.
Yeah.
I think that's only natural that you would feel like kind of displaced almost. Maybe that's a good word for it. It's like displacement.
That is a really good word for it. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that only makes sense.
The physical warp was very real. And there's also, you know what there also is a time warp. So after I got the letter, the next day I was just like, I'm getting tattoos. And I got a tattoo of an envelope, which I showed you.
Yep.
And my friend called me and she was like, you already got a tattoo? It's not been that long. And Crash, I'm telling you, at that point, it felt like 100 years.
Really?
Yeah.
No, it was like 24 hours.
It felt like 100 years since yesterday. Like, and You know, to add to my other friend who said don't drive,
Yeah.
my recommendation also to people is also don't ride your bike. Like I was.
Did you ride your bike,
I
Kersey?
rode my bike down to the quarter and I was reckless. I was just
I was gonna
like.
say that's just as bad as riding your bike as driving a car.
Yeah,
you know?
but there was something about it where I was like, well, I'm not going to cry. I'm not going to cry while riding my bike. But I was just like, I am the rocket. I am a rocket.
Maybe that's worse.
I need to
though,
feel the
you
wind.
know? Yeah. Well, that sounds like adrenaline. Like that's more of like the panic that I was talking about, you know?
Yeah.
And that might also be why you were driven to get us tattoos so quickly, is like part of that panic, part of that adrenaline rush. Like I need to feel better, and adrenaline is a great way to feel better. You know?
Yeah. I think that there is a
thing.
huge adrenaline rush
Yeah.
when it's all, you suddenly get kicked into survival.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. Another stage of grief, you get physically sick. Like I got a fever. Yeah, I didn't hit 100, but yeah, it was up there.
Right.
And it took a lot of sleeping to get rid of that fever.
Yeah, that's stress from the
Yeah, your
situation
immune
and
system
everything.
takes
That's
a
stress
kick.
getting you sick.
Yeah, your immune system will take a kick. So
I think it's also important to like remark that everyone feels grief differently.
and there's so many different.
Also, depending on like your relationship with the person or with the
Yeah.
experience or whatever is going to affect how you feel about it.
And I'm glad you said
But,
experience too, because grief is not just losing somebody. It's
No, not at all.
losing a job. It's losing a friend, just in a friendship breakup or maybe a relationship breakup. Like grief is
Right.
it's losing a pet, you know?
Yeah, there are a lot of different ways that people can experience grief, and yeah, definitely don't want to make it. It's not just about losing someone forever. Even like, even you can, lose a relationship, but still see the person all the time because you work together or whatever. You know, there are different ways to process and like what's gonna happen to you depending on like how the relationship was with the person or whatever. You know.
Yeah.
It's gonna look different.
Another stage of grief. I don't know if what this one fits into, but I was sick. I had a fever. I didn't want to. I just wanted to feel better than something and smarter than something. So I decided to watch this show I don't like called Bridgerton.
You did tell me about that.
I don't like the show.
Honestly, I support this version of mourning, though.
I don't like the show. I was just really, really upset. I wanted to be in bed. And I don't know, and maybe it is just coming from like a real place of pretension, but like there's only so much art you can make. There's only so many things you can write. And I just, yeah, man, it feels really good to feel smart.
Yeah.
And to make fun of something, even though it's terrible. The thing is that I actually kind of started to like Bridgerton. Wow.
Oh no.
Wow.
That's all it took, huh?
So spoilers for Bridgerton if you don't want to go any further in this podcast. But I watched all of Bridgerton, and in the second season, I'm not going to cry when I talk about this, but I might.
We're prepared. We're here for you.
Yeah, it's kind of revealed later in the story that this father of this Bridgerton family in the Regency era, he died really suddenly.
Okay.
He was stung by a bee in front of his oldest son.
Ooh. And had a big anaphylactic shock.
Yeah. And that's a big reason why the son isn't marrying for love or trying to fall in love with anyone. God, why am I about to fucking hate this show so much?
It doesn't sound like you do.
I was like, no, but like towards the end of it, I was like, dude, of course you can love again. Go for it. Go. Get her.
Life is too short. Fall in love.
Life is so short. You live in the Regency era that already sucks. Like you should just
You deserve love. You live in the Regency era.
Oh my god. Yeah, so I'm just sitting there like watching Bridgerton being like, oh man, I actually kind of like this show now. It's stupid. And I'm so grateful. I keep on mentioning all these friends. Is that like I'm so grateful to my friends. And do I wish that this situation never happened? Of course. Am I grateful for the people around me and how they've showed up? Like there's no way to express.
There are no words.
There's no way to express just how amazing it's been.
You're so lucky to have such a good support system too. Like not only with people like online or faraway friends or whatever, because I know like you have the hens and all that. And me, hi. But like to have people like directly in your community is so special. Like you had friends who could come over and give you rules about not driving, or like make sure that you had food if you needed it,
I had a friend who stayed with me for 2 weeks.
Yeah, that's so nice.
Yeah.
Like that is so special, and that's like community is so ridiculously important when you're in a tough situation, when you're not in a tough situation too, but especially when you are. It's like it gives everybody their chance to shine as like a really good friend. And I think as much as like we don't want anything bad to happen to our people, it also feels good to be able to help our people when they need it.
Yeah.
So I'm sure that like it wasn't an imposition or anything. Everyone was just there to be there for you.
Yeah.
And that's a good thing. That's a really special good thing.
Yeah. And I think that this is a good way to segue into the next stage of grief that I experienced.
How many stages are there, Kersey?
So many, but this is kind of like the last one, which is celebration. Because, well, one, I gotta say, I am also grateful for the city of New Orleans as much as I am to my friends. Because out here, death is intertwined with celebration. They have second lines. When somebody passes, there's a parade thrown for that person. There's a band, there's cheering, there's just...
It's celebration of life rather than like intense mourning.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
There was... I was back in San Francisco for a little bit, and then I came back here, and when I was back here, there happened to be the Day of the Dead celebration.
That's so good timing for you.
My friend, another one of my friends, God, I'm so lucky. Another one of my friends came over. He was actually born in Mexico, and he was teaching me to make a shrine. And he had shrines for his other friends who had passed. And what we did during that time is share stories about the people we've lost and build these shrines.
Right.
And with the shrines, you're supposed to give offerings. And I put down a hot cup of coffee, guitar picks, Johnny Cash record, and there's something else and I'm forgetting it, but that's okay. The important thing was that there was enough coffee. And it was hot.
Right.
Yeah. And then 4 days later, there's the parade. And it ended in front of a ceremony. Excuse me. It ended in front of a cemetery. And what was so important about the Day of the Dead parade is that it was in as much, it's not a celebration of the dead, it's a celebration of life and the people who were here. You know?
Right.
And it was so human. You know, a funeral is cathartic. This was human. Because I feel like there's something that, like, everybody was there because everybody had their own story and everybody had their own people, and it was people that people shared. It was just like this continual sort of celebration of who these people were and their memories.
Right.
And I think that there is something about, like we other the dead, you know? We other the dead a lot.
Right.
And
they're inaccessible.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like, but I don't think that's very fair because they were here and they are still human. They're just, you know, the person who they were are now some of our favorite memories, and we get to bring those favorite memories forward in our everyday lives. And that's how I want to remember my friend. I want to remember somebody who was extremely present, who is extremely, extremely passionate, and extremely supportive of art and making art. And even in the small ways of just saying hello to somebody at a checkout stand, or interacting with somebody who I'm an acquaintance with and I'm feeling those overwhelming feelings, I center myself back to that and try to bring those best memories forward.
Right.
Yeah. And I think that's it. I think those were all the stages of grief that that I've experienced thus far.
I'm sure part of it was also cyclical. You know, you just think you've moved out of something and then something will, like, bring you back to another.
Wait, what does...
Like, to the stage again.
Can you... what's the definition of cyclical again?
Like, it moves in a circle. So it's like, in this case, I'm sure you had moments where you were feeling depressed, and then as you thought you were going out of it into, like, the funny joke mode, suddenly the funny joke isn't funny anymore and you move back into depression. Is like a cycle.
Yeah.
You know?
Like it's going to keep going around and around and around.
Yeah.
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 I don't doubt that. I do not doubt that.
Well, and like I said at the top of this, like, I think, you know, time is what helps. It's not that, like, you ever stop grieving. It's just that maybe it doesn't hurt so badly all the time. I've been fairly fortunate in my life not to have known too many people who have passed. And the people that I did know were, like, much older relatives, so it wasn't as much of a surprise. But the initial hurt that I felt when they passed was very hard on me because, like, I wasn't able to go, like, to funerals and stuff. Like, they were very far away from me. And also kind of build up. So I had a great grandma who passed, and she was 103 years old.
Wow.
And yeah, I know, I'm going to live forever, man. But, like, since I was a child, people had been telling me this might be the last time you see her. Like, literally 15 years of people saying this might be the last time you see her. Like, so make it count, you know. And then when she finally passed, it was like, oh my God, the last time I saw her was the last time I was ever going to see her. And that was very difficult for me to feel, because that had never been the case for me before. I'd gotten to the point of, like, yeah, she's going to live forever though, so, like, it's fine. But now so, like, the initial hurt that I felt with that has, like, really, really dissipated to the point that I can joke about me living forever and being like, maybe you shouldn't tell your kids that this might be the last time they're going to see somebody, because, like, it's not going to mean much to them if you do it for 15 years straight, you know?
Right.
So it's like it's all celebration of like she lived to be forever, and like forever years old, and it's all good now. It's not sad anymore. At least not for me. It's just I like going to like my grandparents' house and seeing like her quilts and stuff, you know.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and like I think that now it's been like 10 years, more than that, since she passed, and it's like it's just happy memories.
Yeah.
Instead of mourning anymore, you know. So like time helps with everything. And that even goes to like breakups and stuff, not even just losing people, but like
breakups.
Time helps with breakups so much.
Losing your job is also like such a grief period too, because it can be kind of traumatic.
Yeah, and this is something that you and I are like still in the middle of.
Yeah, this is true.
We're plonk in the middle of, I think, that grief. At least I am. I think you are too still. But.
I've had some distractions. I think I don't want to be like one grief trumps the other grief, but like
no, not at all.
Let's just say actively working and trying to find a job has been such a nice distraction. It's such a good distraction. It's like, they gotta try to find this job.
It's something else to do, I guess.
I don't have to think about this. I have to find a job.
Yeah.
I will end by saying this, is that when I was like really, really, really sad, I rewatched, are you a fan of Patton Oswalt?
Yeah.
Did you ever see his special on Netflix right after his wife passed?
I don't think I have.
It's incredible. The fact that he stood up and did that and made it so relatable and yet so funny was just, it was human. It was human. And he said that him and his wife would have these really, really long conversations. And they were very philosophical, and he would say like, oh, maybe there is a higher plan, maybe there's a path in life, may we all have like our purpose and what we're supposed to do. And she would say, no. It's chaos, be kind. And he says then, she won the argument in the worst way possible. I've been keeping with the it's chaos, be kind, and that's been like really grounding me throughout this whole thing. Because it is, like, I mean, without getting too heavy, you know, everything that's going on in Iran right now and focusing on that, and Trump is going to make an announcement later today. Guess what it's going to be at the time of this recording. Don't stress out too much, but like, remember that like you always can say hello to somebody, and if you haven't said hello to somebody that you love in a while, give them that hello.
For sure.
And
for sure,
you can say I love you with hello too.
Yeah. It's like, it's a good reminder, right, to not only reach out to people like maybe that you haven't spoken to in a while, but also just to reach out to your everyday people.
Yeah.
You know, it's a good reminder to be kind.
Yeah.
To your everydays, you know.
Yeah.
Especially if you're like getting into some monotony or whatever, like it's important to remind people that you love them. And I think that this, like, you and I have always been very affectionate, very lovey, but I think that it was a good opportunity for even like our relationship to grow with like regular messages that are like, hi, love you, thinking about you.
Yeah.
Even when we weren't recording the podcast, because we were giving you time and all of that, is like, it's an opportunity, and if you can see it as an opportunity, that's a good thing.
Huh.
You know?
Yeah.
Did we get somewhere super philosophical?
Yeah, I'm trying to think of like the other word other than opportunity that would be good.
Reminder, maybe?
Reminder. Maybe I mean, I like it's chaos be kind, but I'll also
I do like
say just be human and understand that humans are humans too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, humans be humaning.
Just a reminder, all humans are human. Okay, cool.
Yeah, reminder that humans are human, they be humaning, and it's chaos be kind.
Yep.
Whew. What have you been crafting today?
Okay. I decided, this is kind of a weird one now. So with the original idea having been like the concert stuff, I was like, I'm going to draw a picture of my cat in the style of David Bowie.
Oh my God. Still relevant. Still relevant. Yeah.
In a kind of weird way, yeah. So I was just doing like the pencil base on a canvas of a face of my cat, Tyga. And I'm going to put like, the David Bowie like lightning bolt. I'm going to put that in the background, I think, because I don't know how it would look on her face. But
are you drawing in Procreate?
No, this was on real canvas.
Woohoo!
Yes, I have some sitting around. I have 3 canvases, so I was like, maybe I'll make my cat's faces.
I love that.
Yeah. That was my idea. What have you been working on? Anything?
I actually, I've been, the red rose is a symbol of love, but I found out that the yellow rose is a symbol of friendship. Mm-hmm. And so I've been drawing yellow roses.
Oh, pretty.
Yeah. It's definitely, I'm not going to tattoo it to my body, but I would. But
don't tempt you, right?
But one thing is that what I like about this podcast is that it's given me the opportunity to practice Procreate a lot, and making prints from that and doing that kind of stuff. It's really important because I'm still learning the program.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, that's fun. I like Procreate, but I don't have enough practice in it. So I went with the physical stuff.
Physical stuff is still good. I would take physical.
I like both.
Yeah, I don't know. Procreate does kind of feel like I'm cheating on something I love. I feel like I'm cheating on my loved one. It's really
no. I think Procreate is its own skill, totally.
Yeah.
Like it's completely its own skill, so I don't think it's cheating. It's just opening up your relationship. We brought it full circle. We've brought it full circle. We've just opened up my relationship.
You did, just like the commenter at the beginning. I think that means. We did it. I will, dude, and again, thank you for letting me talk about this, and especially on our public platform, not just in our personal one. And yeah, I love you so much, man.
I love you too. I want to remind people, since we were talking about our art, we do have an Etsy page where you can buy the art if you'd like. It's all limited edition and super duper cool. So if you want to get the art, you can go onto Etsy and type in PEACCHY Podcast Shop. There'll also be a link in the description wherever you're listening to this, and you can see what we've got up for sale. I'm about to list the candles from last week. They turned out really, really nice. They're like a beautiful little peachy color, and they smell like peaches and vanilla, and I'm really excited about it. I think you said you were going to work on something last week?
Yeah, I was going to do the...
but then you were sick.
Yeah, I got so sick. It was something I drank, I swear.
It was the 4 glasses of wine.
But I was gonna do a cartoon of us, and then this week it'll be the yellow roses.
Yeah, I think we'll have some fun stuff up there in the next coming days.
Yeah,
so,
check it out, everyone.
Yeah, by the time this podcast goes up, it should be up and ready to be purchased if you want some super limited edition podcast merch.
So wait, what are we going to be talking about next week?
So I'm thinking about talking about this book that I'm reading. It is, I don't want to get too much into it yet. It's called Do Less, though, and it's kind of like a new thought on productivity and on like a personal calendar. So it takes away like the 24-hour day and makes you think in broader terms than that. I'm really excited about it. It's kind of how I've taken this past month, and I'm really loving it because I don't feel upset with myself on a daily basis if I haven't completed something. I think it'll be a good topic next week. It'll be fun.
Yeah. And to our listeners, we promise we're going to talk so much about rock and roll and sex soon.
Very soon.
Very, very soon, as promised in the first episode.
I hope this doesn't become our new gimmick, but I also kind of hope it does. Is like, I promise one day we'll talk about rock and roll and sex. Maybe.
Maybe.
Okay, I think that's it. I'm gonna do our outro. Sound good?
Sound good.
Okay, we do hope that you enjoyed today's podcast episode. Thank you for listening. Make sure you follow our podcast wherever podcasts are available. Check out our Etsy page, Peachy Podcast Shop on Etsy, to see all the artwork that we made this week and snag it for yourself. And check us out on our socials. I'm rapidpeach everywhere on the internet.
And I'm at Made by Kersey. It's like Jersey with a K.
Yes, it is. And with that, we will see you next week on Peachy.
Bye-bye, everyone.